Hello, this is Kyle out of Christian Idealism. In this stream, I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. So I'm going to be giving my prediction for the 2024 election. So that's this election cycle. I don't know how long the stream will be for, but that's what I'm going to do. Just a few points before I begin. As some of you probably know, I once supported Trump a few months ago, and then when it actually came time to vote, I didn't vote for him or Kamala. So just be aware that where I stand politically, or at least where I stand on voting for them, I didn't vote for any candidate. And of course, I voted on the propositions because those are local matters. But when it comes to the presidency, this election I didn't vote. There's various reasons for that. I'm not going to explain why in this video, but I just want to make that clear that I am coming from a biased perspective. I just want to make that 100% clear that I'm not an unbiased person. I have my biases for and against the candidates on certain issues. So what I'm going to be doing here is just giving my opinion, balancing what the polls say, and then balancing that with the prediction models, and then bringing in what I think makes sense of it all. Something real quick, I have to make sure that this stream is actually working properly, because apparently, according to StreamYard, I guess the connection is unstable. I don't know why that's the case. But let me just double check real quick, and then we can get started. Okay, looks like we're good. Probably not. Yeah, I am a tad blurry, so I apologize for that. I don't know how to fix that. I sincerely apologize for that. It's not my fault that happened. And I'm just going to share my screen real quick, and then we can get into where I think things are going to go. And then there's one other person that's going to be joining us as well, and I might also share the link in the live stream if people want to join. But anyways, let me see here. An ad. I don't want this. Okay. All right. All right, Caleb.
Hey, Kyle.
Can you hear me?
Oh, not much right now. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good. So
great.
I wanted to bring Caleb on. The reason why is actually, Caleb, I'm assuming, aren't you a libertarian or something, or what's your political?
Yeah, I do. I won't get into specifics, but I did study political science in school, and I have had jobs that are government affiliate.
So you're actually you're a specialist.
No,
you okay.
I won't say that. I'm just here on myself. I'm not representing any organization or anyone like that. I'm just here just to give my personal opinion. But yeah. So, but yeah, as we were talking about this earlier, though, I know you've made posts and I've commented. So we've had a little bit of conversation in the backlog on these prediction models. So I think it's super interesting and something I've been following.
No, yeah, and to be clear, Caleb, I mean, I don't want to get to in case people are wondering, me and Caleb have a disagreement about one particular model. So, he's a fan of what's called the Keys model. I'm not a fan of the Keys model, but I do think it's the best model. So that's something I can agree with Caleb on. I think our main disagreement is going to be with how exactly reliable that model is. But generally, I mean, to be clear, I think most of the prediction models are bad at predicting elections. And that's the reason why I think the Keys model is probably like the quote unquote the best. It's not that it's necessarily the best in an absolute sense or it can predict the future, but I do think it's best in terms of if you compare it to other models, even if it's not perfect, I think it outpaces them on quite a few things. To the degree that it does, me and Caleb might have disagreements about that. But I just want to clarify for the audience sake that in case people are wondering where me and Caleb stand, we both agree that the Keys model is the best model. We just disagree on what exactly it can tell us, if that makes sense. I'm a little more skeptical about any model predicting elections, whereas Caleb might be more sympathetic to that, and that's fine. I don't know if you have anything to add to that, Caleb, but yeah.
No, that's fine.
But yeah, so anyway, so I do think that the so let me sort of explain. So if you look at some of the polling, I believe Nate Silver has predicted a 53% in favor of Trump. Then you have, of course, Allen's model, which is the Keys model. He says that Kamala Harris is going to win, right? And to keep in mind, not Kamala, but the Keys model has gotten everything right in terms of predicting things, I think, since the 1980s or something. Oh, and by the way, Caleb, if you want to share your screen to explain the Keys model, you can. It's up to you whether you want to do that. So
I
people have
didn't
an
bring
understanding.
anything. I didn't bring up something for it, but I can explain it. Yeah, just for context. And I had my own prediction on this as well, but I'll let you go first. So just to clarify, so some models use polling data, right? Most of them do. Some models use data from primaries. Some models use economics data. Alan Lichtman's Keys model is probably one of the more popularized, well-known ones he's been doing. He originally drafted it with a Soviet scholar who worked on earthquake predictions, and there were 13 metrics for predicting earthquakes. So he wanted to apply that. He and Lichtman authored a paper in 1981 where they were using that model to predict trends in voting behavior. So they took every election from 1860, which is the first time we had a Republican win, and it's kind of the genesis of the modern day two-party system, all the way up until 1980, which at that point was the most recent election. And they looked for factors that every winner had. But the general model is based on the idea that it's not really campaigning that counts, it's governing. And so elections are just yes or no approvals of the incumbent party or voting against it. If you have eight keys or more in favor of the incumbent party, they are predicted to win. If you have 6 keys or more against them, then they are predicted to lose. So most of the keys are based on relatively quantitative data, like economic data, or based on whether the candidate is the incumbent, or if they had a competitive primary, or how many seats they lost in the midterm. There's a few that are a little bit more subjective, like foreign policy success or failure, or even things like candidate charisma, although it's not nearly as subjective as some people want to accuse it of. So long story short, in his most recent publication of it for 2024, 2 months ago, Lichtman predicted that Kamala Harris would win because the incumbent party, which is the Democratic Party, got 9, I believe it was, out of the 13 keys, which is one more than they need for the minimum. And even one of the keys that's a little shaky, even if we granted that one away and only got it to 8, it would still be the minimum needed for her to win. So under that model, she's a predicted winner. But the model does not specify the margins. It doesn't specify which states. It just tells you yes or no winning.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's a good point. There's also the question of what do you guys make of betting odds? I do think that's relevant. Although I will say that a lot of betting odds are themselves based on
Is he frozen, or is that just on my end? Huh.
Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing that.
Are you back now?
Okay.
Sorry. I don't know if I froze or you froze.
Yeah. No, I froze. I think it was both of us that froze. I don't know what's going on with this. Okay. Anyways, I'm gonna share now fully the screen that you see before you. Okay, so this is where I think I'm gonna present two. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna present two scenarios. One scenario where I think it favors Kamala, and then another scenario where I think it favors Trump. So I'm gonna start with Kamala, and then I'm going to present a scenario that I think is most likely to happen if Kamala wins, and then I'm going to present a scenario that's most likely to happen if Trump wins. So this is where it stands with Trump. So I'll give Trump Nevada, I'll give Trump Arizona, I'll give Trump Georgia, give Trump North Carolina. So it gets all those, okay? And that puts him at 268. But I would say the most likely scenario for Kamala to win is if she wins all of these states. So of course it's going to be, leaning towards that direction. But basically, so I think this right here is the most likely scenario for Kamala to win. So basically, even if Trump takes all the, southern swing states, as long as Kamala can hold these three, then she pretty much wins. Right now, of course, that assumes that she's going to keep everything else. I'm just going to assume, for the sake of argument, that she will. That is a very close race. So
It
I
also
don't.
assumes, by the way, that she gets the Nebraska district, the little blue dot in Nebraska, because they
Yes,
split it.
right here.
She
Yeah.
loses that. She's up in polling. She's up by like 10, so she probably will get it to where Omaha is. But if she does happen to lose that, it'll be a tie.
Yeah, and if that happens, well, actually, I don't. Is there a
Hold
scenario?
on. Yeah.
Oh, I get that's weird.
Yep. There you go.
But yeah, if she loses that, then it's a tie, which that's never happened. So
It would
we'll
go to
see
the
what
House of
happens with that.
Representatives at that point.
Yep. Yeah, and obviously Trump's gonna, win
Yeah.
that scenario. But yeah, so basically, I think that assuming that she wins this, I don't know where it's at.
You can. It's the I think the Nebraska's district. I think 1 can just make it. I'm sorry, District 2.
I don't know where to find
Just
it though.
just refresh
It's
the map.
weird.
You could just refresh the whole page. Then
I'm just gonna reset the map because okay.
And
So
you
yeah,
can
so
click the little
basically,
each time. By the way.
oh
There
really?
you go. Yeah, you can if you click the colors and then do it. It's a little faster.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, so this is what I think is gonna happen if Kamala wins. Which is very close race, but again, so yeah, and that's just because I think that Trump is going to win Georgia because I believe in 2020 I think Biden only won that state by like 11,000 votes. It was like really close, and I don't think that's going to happen again. Same thing with North Carolina, although I don't know the exact numbers of that one. But yeah, so this is what I'll say is the most likely scenario for Kamala. Now, for Trump, it's a little bit different. So I think here is a possible scenario. So if Trump takes Pennsylvania, then he wins. In fact, I would say
he takes any of the rest of the states, he wins as long as he has the southern states.
I think basically the only thing that Trump needs to do is defend the southern state. With Wisconsin, I think, right? And let me double check. Let's just say he only wins Wisconsin just for this one of these 3 states and then keeps all, then he wins. Now, I just want to keep in mind, people, historically, these 3 states have voted together. So in 2016, Trump won all 3 of these. In 2020, Biden won all 3. And then I believe even before that, so basically, yes. I think that as soon as one of them is called, so like if Wisconsin is called either Trump or Kamala, then I think they're just going to take the rest of the other 3 states or the other 2 states. So at least to me, that's what I'm going to be looking for is if Kamala or Trump, if it's called for either one of them, that they're going to win either one of these states, then I think basically the election's over at that point, because historically speaking, these 3 states have voted the same candidate together. I don't know if you looked into that, Caleb, or if you would agree with me on that, but what do you think? I mean, I feel like if either candidate wins one of these 3, they basically win all 3.
I mean, it's obviously
I don't know
possible.
what's your
So it's obviously possible for them to vote, like not vote together, right? There's no like reason they have to, but I think just demographically, they're all very similar blue collar worker, very similar states. So yeah, you're right. Since I think it was 1992, they've all voted together, usually for the Democrats, but then in 2016, they all three went to Trump, and then all three went back again. So history would tell us it's very likely that they would all go. So yes, I agree. If one of them
right?
is called, it's probably going to be that. But I do think just with demographic changes, Harris is. I think most people seem to agree Michigan's the most blue out of those. It's the one Biden won by the big of the swing states that Biden won by the biggest margin. I think it was like 170,000. Whereas some of the other ones were only by, I think Wisconsin was like by maybe 20,000 or something. It was a lot closer. So I think that you're going to get closer races, but people are worried that in Michigan, the Arab vote, because of the Palestine-Israel war, a lot of the Arab Americans that really do not like the Biden administration might vote against her or just sit out. On the other hand, in Pennsylvania, there's a lot of Puerto Ricans, and with the recent comments that the one comedian made at the Trump rally,
Oh
a
yeah,
lot of
yeah.
people
I saw
mad
that.
about that. So it kind of goes both ways, and so it's like it could go. Now my map looks very similar to that. I have Kamala winning just the Rust Belt. The only difference I actually have, and this is a recent change, is that I think that Kamala actually might very narrowly flip North Carolina, and that's a controversial opinion. I think that's her best chance out of the southern states. Because
Yeah,
Trump has won it both. Trump has won it both times. It was a lot closer the second time, 2020. But I think the main reason is because the demographics has gotten a lot younger, a lot more blue in those state and the cities. And I think another big reason is the gubernatorial candidate for the Republicans there is so terrible that I think it could actually drive her Republican turnout. I mean, now granted, North Carolina's had Democratic governors for a while now, and yet they've still always voted Republican in the presidential primaries. But the margins were never this bad. Usually, the Democrat would win by maybe 4 points, and the Republican would win narrowly. But Mark Robinson, who's the Republican candidate, who recently got caught calling himself a Nazi and saying he wanted to own slaves and all this stuff, he is down by 13 points right now in the polling, which is pretty abysmal, right? Especially for a swing state. So if it's by that big of a margin, Trump would have to have a lot of independent voters or a lot of people split ticket voting to vote who are voting for the Democrat governor but are going to vote for Trump. It could happen. It has happened, but I haven't seen it by that big of a margin. So Trump's going to really need to hope that that's not going to weigh him down. I originally thought Nevada was going to go blue, but I think it was just the early voting and stuff maybe changed my mind on that. I think Trump actually might win Nevada narrowly. And I do agree with you that I think Arizona is Trump's best chance. Georgia, I think he probably will win, although I think that the Democrats have a good ground game there. So I would probably just change Wisconsin to blue, and I would change North Carolina to blue. Though North Carolina, I'm still kind of hesitant on, but that would be my prediction.
So yeah, so basically, I've already presented how I think Kamala is going to win. See, here's the thing. So I did some research. So I think Michigan. I think the most likely state to go blue is Michigan, either
Yeah.
Michigan or Wisconsin. Although I know Wisconsin has Milwaukee, which is a big city. So
We
there's
also have a couple
that.
of friends from Wisconsin,
But I do think that Michigan. No, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I've actually I visited Wisconsin a few months ago,
Yeah.
actually, so it was interesting. But yeah, so I think this right here is what I would say is the best chance for Trump to win. Now, I'm a little bit more hesitant about Pennsylvania. I think Pennsylvania is the most important state in this election. I think whoever wins Pennsylvania basically wins everything. Even Nate Silver, I think, said that like whoever wins is, that'll favor them by like 30% or something, which is pretty big in terms of probabilities. So I do think that. Can you hear me, Caleb? By the way.
Yes, I think there's a lag. I also can't see you because
Okay.
you have it in the screen. But
Okay.
yeah.
No, I turned it off because it was glitchy. So I'm just showing the map right now. But yeah. So this is the scenario that I think Trump is most likely to win. But we'll see. I mean, again, like I said, these three states typically vote together. So I think it would be very hard um, for Trump to win just one of these, and then
Hmm.
and then for Kamala to win the other two. So I think overall, I think even though this is the most likely scenario, I'm still less confident that this is.
Kyle, you still there? It's not.
Hello.
Oh, you're back again.
I
Okay.
don't know what just happened. I got kicked out. um,
I didn't kick you. I don't think I even can
no,
kick you out.
no, you
So
can't. It was the internet that kicked me out.
yeah. So all I was gonna say is I agree with you. I was gonna ask, what do you think so you think it's more likely that the states split up, the Rust Belt states split up, and Trump wins one than it is that they historically stick together and Trump wins all three of them again? You there?